Has that table been moved recently? Like, I think it might have been moved since last night. For some reason my head isn't quite in the shot.
I'm not, but which way do you need it moved? This way?
I like the... Oh, yeah, perfect.
You do.
Coconut's not in the shot. There we go, that's better. Thank you. Well, I am live, so share that. I'll get back on there. Do that. I do that. Whoa!
Calm down, just
Oh no.
why? Oh, actually, I'm going to go home and fix some more stuff. If that's okay with you. What I might do is find a horse, actually, so that I can get a horse on the way to yours and back, because that'd be quicker.
Potentially.
Well, it depends where it's clear. I take the saddle with me. And then I'll go back to mine and fix my stuff, because I've noticed my thing is really low. There's a fairly flat, straight bit going across. Hey, doggy. Bless me. Bear with, because I need to make some more diamond. I think I'll give them mine to Yeah. Excuse me, sorry.
Done what I needed to do on the little modded launcher, so I'll be back in a moment. Would you put the video on, please?
Sorry?
Would you put the video on, please?
What, on my phone?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Multi-play, you fucking dickhead.
Over the last tax year, or the equivalent period a year ago. So we're now in May, so it would be May 2019 wages. So it's the higher of May 2019 wages or your average over the last year. That's been crystal clear since the day the scheme was announced. So unless they're either fobbing you off or there's another concern they have, but unless you know what it is, you can't tell me. And unless I know what it is, I can't really help out through Joy. Thank you, Joy. Let's get a Nick eventually. Hello, Nick. Oh, hello. Good evening, Clive. Unfortunately, I took my really stupid pension when I was 15, which I've been getting for the past 5 years. Sorry, I missed the beginning. What pension? MOD. Really stupid pension, MOD pension when I was 15. I've been getting it for the past 5 years.
I use so much of that. To fix all my stuff, I've got 31 left. By 53.
I'm currently obviously unemployed.
It's fine, so still
My question is, am I entitled to universal credit?
Right, so I'm going to try and see what
on social security benefits. I don't know whether they take
oh, okay.
into account.
I'm breaking free.
I suspect they do.
Just because I've got a spare pickaxe on me, because I use that for like the normal stuff, but if I have 3 enchanted, then it's better.
And how much universal credit you'd get. I think that's an answer you might find fairly easy if you look on the internet.
As well, is that
Try
cool?
doing that. I did. I've gone to the government, the government website, but it doesn't seem to give much information. I'm 55 at the moment. You know, I left the commission.
My next mission
5 years ago.
is
Obviously, I'm in the security field, but there's no work going on at the moment, so I'm unemployed.
my chest pain, wasn't it? That was the that one I got. So can I re-enchant that, or do I have to make a new one and enchant that?
I think you have to make a new one.
Okay, that's fine.
I
Just so I
mean,
know.
you can try it anyway. I haven't tried, but I wouldn't think so.
Are you in here yet?
Yeah, I'm in.
Are you able to sleep, or are you in the middle?
No.
Just so I can make my way back to you on this.
Good evening, Clive and Daniel. I have my wife, she works in NHL, and she's actually shielding Queen because I'm basically myself.
Okay.
Mixers, the colour of mixers changed a little bit. It's a bit weird and greeny.
Yeah, has she asked her sorry, just to work for a care home that's funded by the she works in the National Health Service. I'm afraid in that case, Brian, she's not going to be eligible for furlough because the furlough scheme doesn't extend to the NHS. It's possible that the NHS might be willing to let her take unpaid leave, or if she fears
I have stuff for you.
Your health and safety, and she's certainly
No.
she's entitled to stay at home and not be sacked.
I'll be back at yours in just a second.
Again, that's on a daily basis. I'm afraid, Brian, there is no way, though, unless the NHS is feeling exceptionally generous with it.
Oh.
Right. Did you just get blown up?
I didn't.
I think your stuff did.
I have to do some making sense.
Entitled to stay at home on full pay.
Alright.
If she's not willing to work, she's entitled to stay off sick leave under the NHS sick scheme. So if she's actually
I thought I could take it on, but apparently I
but if she's
couldn't.
healthy at the moment, I'm afraid
I'm gonna go see if I have any leads. Because then, if when I get to yours, I can just like fill a little place for my house and read on it.
Yeah. I thought it was all a little stab. Oh, I can do that. I forget about that. Forward slash.
unpaid, but
Yeah.
not paid, I'm afraid.
There we go. Oh, that's
Sorry
better.
about that, Brian. Thank you. Violetta in Reading. Hello.
Hello, Violetta in Reading. How are you? Oh. Right, so bone, some soil, got some bone. Oh, then I'm going to need more glass. Do I have glass? There we go. Alright, okay.
Was there any break in your employment in 2015?
Oh, that's you. What the fuck is that? Oh, my, yeah.
So, on that basis, you are entitled to redundancy payment based on
Oh, come back. Dick.
not 50. That's absolutely outlandish.
Okay, good news. Good to have a nice positive bit of news there, Violetta. Thank you very much indeed. Very quick question. Well, we've got just 2 minutes, but I think this might be a quicker answer actually for you, Daniel. This is on the text from Sharon.
No.
She says, my friend's company have asked her to do some work while on furlough leave. She has refused. She's now worried that they'll not pay her or they'll lay her off as they've only been there a year. As she's only been there a year. What can she do?
Well, I'm assuming, first of all, Clive, that Sharon works for the Friends company, and it's not just a friend who happens to ask
So I
Sharon
don't
to
think
do
they're
something for an entirely unrelated
What?
company.
Potentially,
Sharon's
yeah.
just asking the question on behalf of the friend.
Oh, I understand. Right, so Sharon's friend works for someone who's asked her to work during furlough.
Yes.
Sorry.
If Sharon's friend does any work for the company while on furlough, then
Hey.
the employer is not allowed to reclaim
Right,
a
where can
of the
I
salary
put my
from
horse?
HMRC. And if the employer does reclaim 80% of the salary from HMRC, then the company is committing a criminal offence. It's fraud. Now, Sharon isn't committing a criminal
She's
offence
got a bit
if she
of
doesn't know that the company isn't reclaiming the money.
fence would be.
Oh, I've actually got some wood on me. Hold on.
Sharon is the
Just
person
because I can build like this little bit
from
and get the
HMRC.
horse in there or
So
something.
unless Sharon's friend actually knows there's fraud going on, she's not committing a criminal offence. And I don't think I can ask that in any other way. It's legal, but it's probably not Sharon's friend committing a criminal offence.
Okay, there we are. We're out of time. Daniel, thank you very much indeed. We'll have another legal hour next week at the same time. Coming up at 1 here on LBC. It's Matt Stadler. I'm back here at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. Next on LBC, Nick Abbott.
The advice offered in this hour is for guidance only. You should always seek your own independent financial opinion.
Thank you, Clive. Coming up, a very suspicious so-called link from the most secure intelligence service on Earth that parrots what Donald Trump has been saying. And not a bit about injecting bleach, but that the American virus fake electoral giants will nothing to do with this vaulting
Oh, sorry.
That was me. That was me.
Oh.
5G conspiracy theorists congregate in London and hug each other.
Right, so I just needed to put some shit in there. I don't need that. 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 Okay.
And how we can get back to work by doing a Norman Tebbit and getting on our
Right. Right. I want it to be near.
Yeah, but I don't want it like near your stuff. I might get in the way.
Global player and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 10 o'clock, Boris Johnson says he was so ill with coronavirus
I'm just like dig something into the mountain a bit here. I just don't want to get off it because it gets like
admitted to hospital with COVID-19 on April the 5th.
Hold on. I know
was
where.
then taken into intensive
I
care
know
2
where.
days later. In an interview with
Right.
a Sunday newspaper, the Prime Minister said he was given litres and litres of oxygen to keep him alive. He's even given his newborn son the middle name of Nicholas, after 2 of the doctors who helped save his life. The Department of Health has admitted a small number of the coronavirus home tests have been sent out without return labels, meaning they can't be processed. One of the essential workers who was sent the test tweeted to say that when they called the helpline, they were told to throw the kit away and reapply. It's unknown if those kits were counted as part of the government's 100,000 tests a day promise. Ministers
Throw them
pledging
away.
extra support for victims of domestic abuse and those
That's a
who
vital fucking test.
coronavirus lockdown. Measures
Needed.
totaling £76 million were announced by the Community Secretary Robert Jenrick earlier, with a new task force to help the homeless permanently. He said good progress is being made.
More than 5,400 rough sleepers known to councils have been offered safe accommodation in just under a month, ensuring that some of the most vulnerable people can
My
stay
horse can do
safe
parkour.
during the pandemic.
One of the government's top NHS advisors has told us it's unlikely we'll be able to go to the pub anytime soon. Dr. Jenny Harries was responding to questions about the easing of the lockdown.
Won't be able to go to the pub anytime soon.
If you go with a whole load of friends that you haven't seen from before the coronavirus
I just
lockdown,
need some more soil real
very small
quick.
environment, lean with each other at the table and stay there for some hours face to face, that's really not a good thing to do.
I've got the fence. I'm just trying to make this. Right, there we go. Huh? Yeah, no, I did.
The latest figure includes those who have passed away in
Oh, wait,
hospitals,
look
care
at that.
homes, and the wider community. It takes the total death toll here to more
Come
than
on.
28,000.
There we go.
Elsewhere, more than
There you are.
65,000 coronavirus-related deaths have been reported in the US, but some experts fear the real figure could be much higher. New data shows that total deaths in 7 hard-hit states was almost 50%.
That's it, you only had to close one.
March
And then it should be able to get out.
The body coach Joe Green says he will be back for his online fitness classes on Monday after having an operation on his hand. He fell off his bike in March, but surgery was delayed due to the coronavirus. A weekly weather will shower starting out to leave a chill night with some clear skies for many central parts. Cloudier across the northeast and the southwest with some patchy
No,
rain.
I'll do this like that.
From global
Hold on,
seashore,
hold on. I need to do the outlayer.
This is LVC.
Ah, for fuck. Oh, I don't want to. Oh, Jesus Christ.
So the weather last month was glorious. Long hours of sunshine and blue skies. It was actually blue. You can see the sun, the sky was so clear. It set a British record for sunny weather in April. It wasn't just an hallucination, it really happened.
Thank you.
Back to what we would expect at this time of year. A somersault. Horribly wet, cold, windy, the usual. Just a perfectly ordinary summer's day.
Yeah, you can see where I had the. Oh, one of my trees has grown back already. Yeah, two of them have. Hey.
A good example was April 2007.
Had a little bit of an accident.
One of the wettest Mays and the dreadful rains of the summer. Yes, nature shows us summer and takes it away again. And it could be that we've had summer already. That was it. That's your lot.
Oh, yeah, that's one.
I'll leave the long range weather forecast.
Ready for your stuff?
So April 2007 was fantastic. Most on record. It was followed by a dismal summer, another hot summer in 2009. When a dry, sunny and warm April was followed by the infamous summer when deluges washed out barbecues.
There you go.
People saw their living room furniture float out their windows.
Thank
These
you.
scorching temperatures that saw Britain
Oh,
fast. It's the sunniest April since 1929. Looks set to return next week.
I do all of them now.
With the mercury soaring to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. And you double it in that 32 degrees centigrade, so 68 times 2 is 143, and 143 plus 32 is 78 degrees centigrade.
Thanks.
In the meantime, there will be thunderstorms and hail and,
Thank you for the tokens.
absolute lightning, very, very frightening. Monday,
Oh, you gave me more apples as well?
Yeah, did you not see that?
No, I didn't. Oh, thank you. Oh, awesome.
I've got quite a load in the box, but I thought we'd just keep one stack on it at a time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm wondering whether to take my second totem and keep it in a box here. If
No,
I die.
Keep no. Put your totem on you.
Yeah, no, I've
If-
got it on me, but I've
Yeah,
got a
no,
spare
keep
one.
keep your totem with you. Because if you die to the point where you use it, you can just put that totem in your hand like straight away.
There are some cautiously optimistic signs from Met Office's seasonal outlook to July.
Okay.
July.
Can you turn it up just a little bit?
I
Actually?
don't know what's going to happen in July. Do me a favour. What they say, however, points to a likelihood of higher than average temperatures and a slight chance of below average rainfall. That sounds pretty good to me. But before then, there is the month of May. And forthcoming attractions in the month of May. First couple of weeks, the first half of May.
Oh, that was me.
this period
That's when you come
lasts
back.
with light
I
to
built that
moderate
so you could
winds
come back.
and temperatures
Oh,
being
okay.
average or slightly
You
above,
went down
which
it.
is not good. Remember, average
What the
is
fuck?
59
Oh,
degrees
that's fine
Fahrenheit,
enough.
which is cold as far as I'm concerned.
Jesus. Right.
The weather
Whoa.
will likely turn more unsettled with gradual increases in rain, showers, followed by brief, sunny or bright
But
spells.
you is on fire.
The unsettled picture likely to continue till the middle of the month. And then,
Alright.
a generally largely unsettled picture is set to continue.
I don't know.
Periods of rain and showers,
If
followed by
I
some brighter spells while staying on the cooler side.
Actually, hold on.
The heaviest rain
You
is
stay
expected in
there.
the south. What? Towards the end of May, there's an increasing chance of longer, drier spells, with temperatures turning warmer. Turning warmer? We'll take it! I'm still playing sound effects, I'll be playing the one that goes, ah. Now, let's start.
Oh god.
Let's dive straight
Funny.
in with both feet. 5G conspiracy theorists
Oh, look.
staged
Oh,
a
you're
group
forward
hug
now. Yeah.
outside London's Scotland Yard
Thank you.
police HQ
Right.
in an anti-lockdown protest,
Plan,
which is
going
stupid,
anywhere and
which is
everywhere.
daft
Anywhere
on
and
so
everywhere, baby.
many levels.
At least we know if we see lava, a whole bit of lava, we'll be like, yeah, I'll swim through.
In the middle of the coronavirus lockdown. Because if this was America, they'd be shooting at clouds by now.
Last time I went behind the house and I found beyond that thing, I call it a house, whatever.
Mhm.
I found shit ton. You're not eating apple.
Yeah, I did eat an apple. I just fell straight in, but I've eaten the apple now, and now I'm fine. Woo!
Yeah, I built a way this way. I might go back through that way.
Jamming together at the end because they realised about
I
how
fell
they
through,
get
didn't
black
I?
card that they won't be able to
So
get
if
the
I
message
build
in
over
the
that bit and go
space
straight
available.
on, that could work.
Men, women and children see waving these signs. Hey, you, people, leave those kids alone.
Hmm.
They then embraced a large group hug outside the police headquarters, despite government guidelines for people to say to
Oh,
stay
I
2
shouldn't
metres
have
apart
done
at all
that.
times to stop the spread of the deadly
No, you don't have to worry.
coronavirus.
You can stay right close to it, remember?
I
But
forgot.
they're about to rescind that advice that
You
on
silly Billy.
Now that
So if I
advice
hit
to
that,
be
that'd be
apart
fine.
we've been hearing for ever and a day. While other experts in foreign climes say that 2 metres isn't nearly enough, and that aerosol droplets of this stuff stay suspended in the air for hours, just moving casually about inside spaces.
Oh, this is so much fun not having to worry about fucking.
But we're about to hear
Lava
that 2
lava.
metres is just fine.
I'm going well
Too much, in
fast.
fact. Budge up this,
Oh,
we're going to
Alan.
have to get much, much closer. If we're going to get back to work and go on public transport, that is. Because you can't go on a bus or a train.
I've got to keep an eye on time though.
How are you going to do that?
If I
So
carry on
instead of
going,
actually,
forget that it's
you know,
gone.
solving the problem, they're just going to change the number. Not 2 metres now, 1 metre, or 3 inches. So no house arrest, no 5G, they said on their little placards. Others seen holding up signs protesting against vaccines that could prevent people from catching the virus. Oh, screw those people. The group who were seen snapping photographs and grinning as they flagged the guidelines were demonstrating about the conspiracy theories surrounding 5G phones. Conspiracy theorists around the world have been warning about the health risks with claims that 5G will give you cancer. In 2018, a story about 5G tests killing hundreds of birds went viral, but was debunked. You know, the internet is the greatest source of information that has ever been invented
No.
since paper. But unlike paper, it is also the greatest source of misinformation and can reach everywhere.
I think I've been here before.
International experts have since
One of
warned
us,
5G
yeah.
phones are completely safe to use and won't damage your health, or kill birds, or give you cancer, or cause moronicism. Last month, Michael Gove slammed the 5G conspiracy theory as dangerous nonsense. You must have heard that from an expert, I bet. Yeah, funny now how we are on the edge of our seat, agog, desperate for the information and the input of experts. Hey, Michael Gove. Michael Gove claimed it was vitally important people were knocking down this rubbish and warned that spreading it put lives at risk. His fury was echoed by the National Medical Director of the NHS, Stephen Powis, who said it's complete and utter rubbish and the worst kind of fake news. The reality is that the mobile phone network, well, somebody's going to have to come up with a better phrase than fake news, because fake news doesn't mean, in the common imagination, fake news. It means something that Donald Trump doesn't like the look of. Something that reflects badly on Donald Trump. That's the definition of fake news. Because he is the chief proponent of that phrase. Everything that doesn't underscore the glory that is Donald Trump is fake news. So fake. The National Medical Director of the NHS said the reality is the mobile phone networks are absolutely critical to all of us, particularly at a time when we're asking everybody to stay home. He said, I am absolutely disgusted that people will be taking action against the very infrastructure that we need. to respond to this health emergency. The people are setting fires to these things. I bet they're coordinating their response to 5G by using their mobile phones. The National Medical Director of the NHS says it's absolute utter rubbish, this 5G conspiracy, and I cannot condemn it in stronger terms than that. I think he's sitting on the fence. So scientists have warned thousands could die if the UK comes out of a lockdown too soon, which is what these people were calling for. Same as the people in America. America. Get your guns. Take your guns. Those people. Professor Milford has warned it would be impossible to send some people back to work without seeing a huge increase in deaths. You know, Denmark has just opened its nursery schools. They've seen.
I think I'm literally going over a path I've already done.
Oh, really?
What the?
The Imperial College epidemiologist insisted
Yeah.
now we can all pronounce epidemiologist without even pausing for thought. We just run right through that word. Like Theresa May through Wheatfield. The Imperial College epidemiologist insisted that social isolation should stay until the vaccine is found. What? Hey, wait a minute, back up. Until a vaccine is found? Well, that might be never. I'll pencil in never for my next appointment. So that's the word of the experts, but these nutters won't take the words of experts.
Oh, it
because
is
they have
87.
mind control and fluoride and chemtrails and
Oh,
weather
this is-
control and George
oh,
Soros
really?
and we didn't land on the moon and every other deluded example of nutcasery you can find in the dank corners of the internet. And in amongst those people that were photographed in the Super Soaraway Sun was some person holding up a sign that reads London Real Army, no vaccine, no 5G, and the names David Icke and Alex Jones, among others, which would cause sensible people to plant their faces in the palms of their hands. I mean, David Icke's just been thrown off Facebook and YouTube for publishing what was described as health information that could cause harm. He was just interviewed on London Live, it's a TV channel owned by the Evening Standard
Good, take a national again.
Lebedev. He broadcast an 80-minute interview with the former footballer David Icke, noted conspiracy theorist. He used the broadcast to claim without evidence that the pandemic was cover for a supposed global world order to purposefully crash the economy, end the use of cash payments and track every individual. But two of the three may be the consequences of what we're experiencing, but they weren't the causes of the end game
Oh,
of a supposed
sick.
global world order.
Oh,
Which does not really exist, not in the way he thinks it does.
I just jumped down that lava. It was like going down to, I was at a height of 80 something, and I blocked off the lava, but when I looked when it was going down, it was actually just, the lava flow was still there, but just, you know when you block off the lava, and it was at the height where the lava oceans are, so I'm like, can I make this in time? So I jumped and hit the top of it and just wave on the way.
Because I've not got much. I've got long-term cash.
And the tracking every individual part, well, that might come with the app. That governments with evil intent will do just that.
It seems so weird just to sort of like, you know, casually jump into lava.
COVID-19 has been used as a weapon for the US and Israel against Iran. America is having a with Iran, and they're using financial means as weapons, just trying to starve them to death, to get a round of applause at one of his demented yeehaw rallies. But they're not using COVID-19 as a weapon of war. David Icke also suggested that any plan to immunise the world with the coronavirus vaccine was a plot to infect people with what he called the tidal wave of toxic, and then very bad word beginning with S. 80,000 people saw that broadcast. And sadly, some have contracted stupidity from it. It's a condition that makes you want to hold up a sign with David Icke's name on it. And believe the stuff he says. Like, we have in our midst blood-drinking, flesh-eating, shape-shifting, extraterrestrial, reptilian humanoids with only one objective in their cold-blooded little heads to enslave the human race. They are our leaders, our corporate executives, our beloved Oscar winning actors.
Oh, baby zombie pig, man. Oh, you look so cute, your little cousin. Sorry. I can be here too. Look at me. Yeah.
Former BBC Sports reporter David Icke gave the poster human for the theory. The poster human for the theory in 1998 after publishing his first book, The Biggest Secret, which contained interviews with two Brits who claimed that members of the royal family are nothing more than reptiles with crowns. Oh, yeah. People believe this stuff, and yeah, they give you credit that. Maybe they got a point. Maybe the waves from their phones have been microwaving their brains. I can't think of any other explanation. David Icke wore only turquoise for a time and insisted on being called Son of Godhead, and said these reptiles have controlled humankind since ancient times and count among their number Queen Elizabeth, George W. Bush, Henry Kissinger, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and Bob Hope. Frighteningly, the people, his acolytes, are serious. But he isn't even the worst one. He isn't even the worst name on that poster, because it also contained the name Alex Jones. And I could do a show from now till the end of time on the stuff that man has screamed down a microphone to his eager audience. But I certainly don't have time for this break coming up. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC.
At Vodafone, we know how important it is to stay connected, now more than ever. Whether you're keeping the family entertained at home or staying close to loved ones far away, switch to Vodafone Superfast Broadband and stay connected for £22.95 a month. Available online today.
Absolutely.
Ready? Vodafone.
24-month contract credit check acceptance and price rise may apply. Superfast average speeds with 35 megabits per second. Vodafone.co.uk/broadband.
If you want to do something important, work in adult social care.
Well, Greg and I need 10 minutes of residential care. Able to live life to the fullest. It's an amazing job to have.
We are recruiting in your local area. We need you now.
One minute.
They need you always. Care for others. Make a difference. Today. Search adult social care jobs now.
Across the nation, we've been discovering loads of new ways to get moving around the home. Why not join in? Join the lounge lunging, 1-2 punching, and the star jumping while the spaghetti's on the hob. Don't let that boil over. Join the impromptu dance parties happening over the phone. And with just 5 more minutes of playing astronauts and aliens in the garden, please. Join the chair lifts, the leg lifts, and the just shaking things out for a bit, happening all across the country. Join the movement to see what you can get from doing such stay and work out.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Leroy texts, if you think about it, if you are at one end of a bar and someone is smoking, you can smell it. So in my reckoning, 2 meters is no way near far enough. And not just in your reckoning, Leroy. Makes perfect sense to me. I mean, there's this video that I watched a couple of weeks ago, which was really alarming. It was recorded in Japan, and they photographed with some special camera that could plot the distribution of, they call them aerosol droplets. Not the chunks that you sneeze out, not like that, but just tiny, tiny invisible droplets. They call them aerosol droplets, and they just tracked how one person sneezed, and then hours later, this fine mist of disease was still circulating in the room and covering everybody's face holes. So 2 meters doesn't even cover it. But now, as I said, we're about to be told, I mean, the government's going to make an announcement on Thursday, give us an idea of what it is that they've cobbled together in the meantime to get us out of this, or to get us out of our homes, more accurately. And one of the suggestions is that by wheedling us out and getting us back on public transport, we're going to have to drop this 2 meters rule, because how are we going to do it otherwise? It's impossible. to be like 3 people on a bus. It's just not feasible. So I think the suggestion has been that they're going to say they're going to drop 2 meters down to 1 meter, which rather makes a mockery of the entire advice. Is it 2 meters or is it 1 meter, or is it other countries have said it should be 4 meters? But we can be absolutely certain that they are following the science, he said, waggling his fingers in the air to denote inverted commas. Simon tweets, I think the government should issue everyone with a 2 meter radius hula hoop to wear around the supermarket. But I did see somebody do that. Some bloke in America, I think, put on a tutu. He made his own tutu. It's like a halo around himself that prevented anybody from getting within 2 meters of him. Of course, it made it difficult to move about. And there aren't many supermarkets on earth that you can distance yourself 2 meters away from the next person and still be able to negotiate an aisle. But it made for a funny picture. Let's have Catford, look, Steve.
Hello, Nick. Yes, regarding your weather report,
yes.
Obviously what we need for the next 2 months probably is rain, sleet, snow and hurricanes, that's what we need, because we need to, we need to stop fat blokes with tattoos on their legs running around like one did today, playing football. There was about 6 of them. And I was doing my daily 30-minute walk, and I'm a good boy, I am, and I couldn't believe it. They're playing football, there were 6 fat blokes with tattoos on their legs.
That's okay, isn't it? I mean, they're not hugging, they're not kissing each other when they score a goal.
They're not hugging, but they weren't from they were blokes from, I don't know, they weren't the same family or anything. Plus they were getting in the way. I was trying to I go to this park and it was a big green space. It was beautiful, but it's hard to keep out of the way of them. So please, don't I just love beautiful weather and it's been glorious recently. But,
I think it was
I had a walk through a park and some people are playing football next to me, and there's always the, because I'm rubbish at football. I'm always when sports,
but they can survive in the wild. So can Blade.
at my school in Edinburgh, we had to leave the premises and go to the field, which was in a different location. And I and some
2 minutes
mates
to
very, very early on decided to lead. We were fully on board with the leading the school part, just not going to the other location. So you'd find us in the basement of a cafe playing David Bowie on the jukebox for the entire period that we were supposed to be doing rugby, rugby or cricket.
What's getting me?
The slightest interesting, and both of which looked
Oh shit, no, I told you I saw one.
much more painful than sitting and having a coffee for 3 hours. So I just didn't show up, and none of us did, to the point that we could actually not show up because they wouldn't know who we were.
That's alright, you got your fire resistance and your normal resistance.
You're not supposed to be here, you're not even at this school.
No, they're doing like hardly no damage, but
But yeah, when I'm going through a park and people are playing football, I always have there's always the fear that goes through me that the ball is going to leave their control and come my way. And they expect me to boot it back at them. But I know that I would take a swing at it and it would go backwards, probably in the river. Something like that.
Me too. I mean, I'm the same. I've got 2 left feet and 2 left arms. I'm useless. But these were.
Maybe you could actually make yourself do a 30-minute walk.
Just about manage it. But these weren't youngsters. They were middle-aged blokes, and
That's all right. I mean, they're not near playing football, are they?
Well, yeah.
mate,
How
how fuck off, yeah?
3 cars or whatever it was.
I mean, mate, how about fuck off, right?
Maybe I'm just being
Ain't a
too
fucking
Yeah.
walk today. You know what I mean? Could you just like fuck off, mate?
On people's cars saying,
yeah.
I love it when you get angry and like the inner chap comes out.
I like that.
Boy, mate,
Take a look at yourself.
you fucking stop it.
We don't need to be guided. We need to
I'll have
be.
you.
You cannot guide. You know, it's against the law. Blah blah blah.
I'll have you, babe. I'll have you, babe. Like chat versions of popular
It's
songs.
lack of clarity lately. I mean, there was a muddle for about a couple of months there when nobody had any idea what they were doing in government. Apart from anything else, Boris
I've
Johnson
got a brand new
decided
Ford
at this
Focus and
moment
I'll
of
show you
Greece to
the
take a blooming holiday. It's just beyond belief, really.
Yep.
But since then, they have been admirably clear.
Really? You kind of missed
The
it,
phrase
right?
that they use is not as good as the one that the
Oh, yeah.
American came up with. I think Americans
yeah.
save
I can
lives.
hit your attack back at you, dickhead.
I'll have to look it up actually. Americans had the same kind of phrase, almost as though they used the same phrase writer, that they are working in concert with each other. But ours is a bit more clunky, and America's was, more difficult.
Yeah. But you know, I discovered, sorry to change. You know the film Casablanca, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Don't you fucking dare me. I will fucking kill you. You can fuck off.
Oh!
Fuck off, you prick!
We all know the scenes.
Oh, fuck off, the lot of you, yeah?
I actually sat down and watched it.
Oh, fuck off.
And it's absolutely, it's
Fuck off.
It is.
What do you fucking do on you?
I know.
Did you just tell them to do one? No, I'm loving it. Don't change. Don't stop this. Don't stop the chatting it. I love it. Being a chat personally, it's not for me, but I can appreciate the culture.
You sound chubby sometimes.
Huh?
You sound chubby sometimes.
You do know whenever I sound chatty, I'm doing it on purpose. I'm putting it on.
Want to see a good film? Then there's another thing called Casablanca.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever, I mean,
Hey,
Mum McDonald's, minimum wage, blah blah blah, can't remember.
did it fine?
Thanks, mate. 034, you're going to come back with the bicycle thieves event. There's something that I've had on video for, I don't know, about 10 years, something like that. Never been able to watch it all the way through. I imagine you probably think that makes me an idiot. Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine. Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, cool.
Spoiler alert, Darth Vader kills her right at the end. Oh, damn it, I've told you. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC, it's 10:30. The news headlines with Zora Song.
The Prime Minister has revealed more details about his time in intensive care with coronavirus. Boris Johnson said at one point he was so ill with the virus last month that doctors were working out how to tell the public about his death. The Department of Health has admitted a small number of the coronavirus home tests have been sent out without return labels, meaning they can't be processed. Some people say they've been advised by officials to throw the kits away and apply again. An English conspiracy theorist, David Icke, has had his official channel deleted from YouTube after violating its policies by posting misleading information about the coronavirus pandemic. The Google-owned video service acted after Facebook decided to take down Mr. Icke's official page. LBC weather will showers coming out of Leadership with clear spells
What
across
done
much
to you,
of
huh?
central England. Overcast in the northeast and the
Yeah, that's
southwest
right.
with
Fuck
some
all.
patchy rain and low of 2 degrees.
LBC.
When it comes
Yes,
to
lava.
something new,
Oh, jump down.
Do you want to fucking help me yet, big man?
browse profiles for free.
Oh, I'm gonna fuck up.
And start the conversation
Prick.
today.
Listen to Raj.
Oh, fucking hell.
I have every nerve to fucking cut you right now.
So epic. He nearly forgot his mom's birthday back in Delhi. Good thing Raj has Western Union knowledge.
Why do you help me? I keep saving loads of them.
Well, no, they don't know, like, you know, it's a different family member. They don't know.
No, I do literally save some just round the corner from there. They would have went round there and told him.
Yeah, they don't like their neighbours though, so they don't talk very often.
While the spaghetti's on hot, time I splurged that out. The training has not so usual, with tins of beans swapped in for free weights, and the cheeky conference call squats. Come on, it's not like they can see you.
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slots that are not full. So what I mean is I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, well, 15, 16 full slots.
Mind up. Mind up.
It's time to stay in and work out. Join the movement.
Now he's turned into blocks. I've got 4 blocks. 4 full blocks.
Call 0345
No.
973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Oh wow.
Shane texts, I actually went to the pub yesterday afternoon. Those lovely round tables with beer mats supporting the legs, those beautiful beer taps with towels on top. And then I realised the owner had turned the bar into a convenience store.
What am I to do?
Well, if you eat an
That's a
apple.
really good idea.
It's not even taking a whole half.
You know, before I went to one of the major supermarkets the other day, I was amazed that I was practically the only person in there. It was the most pleasant experience I've ever had in a supermarket, and I was expecting it to be the worst. But there was nobody there. I had the place to myself, pretty much. But before that, I was going to convenience stores. They'd been, at the time, the only places where they sold food that actually had any, food left. Whose shelves were not stripped bare. But that's a good idea. Turn pubs into a convenience store. Or you could turn them into pubs. I mean, Sweden hasn't closed its pubs, or its restaurants, or its bars, or its cafes, or its schools, or its cinemas. And I think they're having a better time of this than we are. And of course, when we're all let out again, their local economy will be less devastated than ours, presumably. And there's also the point that if you haven't been locked in, you were never in the first place, then it's much easier to get you to come out. Whereas I think the government's going to have a pretty difficult time getting us to come back out again. I guess when, in a few years, when we can confidently tally up the numbers, then we'll find whether Sweden did the right thing or we did the right thing. Well, I think we already know that we haven't done the right thing. But whether, say, Germany and other countries, or Sweden's nearest competitors, like Denmark, for instance, whether they did the right thing by locking down. I suppose only when the fat lady sings will we know what the score is. But at the moment, it looks like Sweden is doing quite well. And it won't have all the extra misery and potential deaths of loneliness and staring at the same 4 walls and being locked in a house with somebody you hate and all the rest of that. Big text, I have a 5G mast 100 feet away from me. I wiped it down with disinfectant, and now when I put the microwave on, I get LBC. Don't watch the food cook, Mick. And Jeremy tweets, stupid, this is in relation to 5G. Who I had the temerity, there was a demonstration of 5G people holding up hands that says no house arrest. No house arrest, no 5G, the 5G people. Protesting in front of Scotland Yard. Of all the places in all the world, they had to protest there. And I went out on a limb and posited the notion that these people might be stupid. Jeremy tweets, stupid people also believe nobody does miracles, and that there is, quotes, no such thing as magic, which is what I said yesterday. So presumably, Jeremy, you think that people do miracles, and there is such a thing as magic. To which I would reply, what I would do if it didn't involve touching my legs with my fingers. I've done a Boris Johnson. Lewisham, Hannah.
Oh, hi, Nick. Hi. A couple of things are doing my head in completely. Firstly, this ubiquitous new word, uptick. Every time I hear it, I go, And I blame that Professor Whitty. You know, I think he's the one who first used simply everywhere. And I had to look it up eventually, because I mistakenly thought it was. Does it stand for uptake or something like that? I've never heard of it. Apparently it's a North American word, originates over there, of course. And it's a small increase. A small increase.
It's an ugly word that means small increase.
Well, okay, so that's the first thing.
That's the lagging on what is going
Oh, so it's because you're in lava for some reason. Lava sometimes does
The
that.
second one is this link between
But yeah, that's not lagging.
5G. I mean, the virus.
Because everything else is going smoothly. Like switch. Oh, no,
No cardboard, no metal, no paper, although it sticks to all these.
That's what I like. You can jump over that one. Oh, no! Fucking hell. Well, you made it anyway.
Organic thing is being spewed out on a 5G mast. It was to infect all of us. I don't understand it.
I don't understand how an organic thing can hold up a placard with Alex Jones' name on it.
Yeah. So, what's the link?
Why not
Nick?
I don't know, you have to ask one of these people. I've got no idea. Neither do they, by the way. They just read it on the internet. They read some misinformation on the internet and it scrambled their minds and they go, aha, I know a tiny bit of information and so that will lead me to believe that I know an enormous amount of information.
Yeah, well, the only way I can think of a link between a digital thing, entity, if you want to call it,
Oh!
a robotic, a nanorobot virus. But this is an organic virus, so, you know, I don't understand.
And the man with block and she's in the dance.
I think the Indie Man.
Shit!
Scrambled their minds. They're looking it up on the internet to see if they can't twin the two.
You know, I missed this David Icke business on London Live. I need to see him and his explanation of the link between.
The best of luck with that.
Yeah.
What are you doing in
If
big man?
screw your eyes shut and
Okay,
take a risk. Alright, thanks a lot, Anna. 0345 6060 973. Jen Zod texts. Oh dear. Is that General Zod? Best way to protect against coronavirus is self-flagellation for our selfish individualism in recent years. Selfish individualism. Yeah, people are. I'll give you an idea of how selfish we are. You know how we all really, really love the people who work in the NHS? Oh, we can't get enough of them. They're our heroes. You know that, right? Well, apparently not.
Excuse me.
This was a story in the Super Stormway Sun, which is not a paper that I normally look at, not even a website that I normally look at. But there was some stuff in there today. In fact, I was going around looking up which newspapers were covering this supposed leak of the Five Eyes security service that the people responsible for infecting the world with this virus were China.
Passed out or something.
Huh?
Guess
It was
must
all
have
over the
like
Daily
passed
Mail.
out or something.
And
I don't know,
suspiciously,
not
in almost any other paper.
Hopefully, I mean it in terms of us not finding out.
Oh yeah, no, probably. After that, I'm not doing anything.
It was the first story in the Daily Mail, but it wasn't on the Telegraph, it wasn't in the Times, it wasn't in the Guardian, it wasn't in the New York Times, it wasn't in the Washington Post. Any paper of record.
I mean it by
Any
what I
paper
said.
of record.
I want to find someone else to move
So I
in.
thought,
Oh,
well,
yeah,
It's going to be impossible, but at the end of the day,
Australian
I genuinely can't deal with it.
as the paper that received this leak.
I don't want to have to deal with it anymore.
I wonder who owns the Australian Telegraph.
So it's not the first time you've done that. Luckily, you're here this time.
Standard bearer
So
for
I don't
Donald
think I
Trump
would
in
have been able
America.
to cope with it.
Could it? The man who puts a megaphone up to
Oh,
Donald Trump's
okay,
mouth
that's good.
and just repeats everything that he says, puts it in the best possible light. It couldn't possibly be
There we go.
him,
Oh,
could it? Yes, absolutely it is. So I
Hey,
thought, well,
yeah, I've got to 1,000 on the positive side. I've managed to go. I've travelled 1,000 laps. Oh, what do I find? Huh?
What, on the first number?
No, on the second number. I got up to 1,000. On the first number, I'm not even paying attention. I'm just trying to help in that way.
On £60 a week after shifts were slashed during the coronavirus crisis. A hospital worker claims NHS families starving on 60 quid a week. The whistleblower who works at the Bristol Royal Infirmary has accused the hospital of showing zero loyalty to hundreds of zero-hour contract staff. The zero-hour contract healthcare assistant, who is employed by the NHS, said some staff members are struggling to get 1 6-hour shift a week, which could earn them 60 quid. Some contract staff and their families are now starving during the coronavirus lockdown, they claimed. The worker told Bristol Live, over many years I've worked very hard and have been very loyal to the BRI, Bristol Royal Infirmary. I've been very, very flexible, working on many wards over many years. When it comes to wanting loyalty from the employer, there are 0 hours and 0 loyalty. It's a zero loyalty contract. They said, I'm now getting about 60 quid a week to live on. I'm probably going to have to sign up for universal credit. We still have to pay our rent and buy food. What about those who have children to feed? The worker fears more than 100 0-hours contract healthcare assistants and some nurses in the same situation.
Oh,
So wards were closed.
I see an Enderman nearby, and I thought I'd got that. I thought I've been so careful to look down.
0-hour staff bank with almost no work or pay.
Oh well, guess who's just found a nether fortress?
Really?
Yeah.
That's always when you move away from it, you find it.
Well, no,
I didn't even get to look around the other one. I didn't even get to look around the other one.
Okay, your contract says you've got 0 hours, but you come to rely on them. Of course
The last one that you found, because I went enough bath.
And by extension,
You
they
carried
rely
on
on
playing.
you.
Did I?
The latest figures show that at
No,
least
I'm looking around it,
30,000 NHS workers are on 0-hour contracts.
The last one I remember was when
You
you were
didn't
shoved
finish
in that
it.
box.
Yeah. You didn't finish it until I got there, but you've done pretty much most of it.
They added most of us are wearing flimsy paper masks like the ones you see people wearing on the street.
There wasn't actually that much left, I'll be honest.
I know.
I just genuinely spent most of that time digging out those bits so we could get the other one that you, me, and Leah went around.
Died with the virus. And you know what? In a moment of madness, I took a peek at the comments section of The Sun under that story, expecting an outpouring of sympathy and support because, as you know, we have become a much more caring and compassionate people since the outbreak. And we really feel very positively towards the heroes of the NHS. So I expected nothing but compassion and understanding. And I could not have been more wrong if I expected the Sun readers to write their comments in Latin. The most liked comment on the Sun's website from that story was, the clues in the job title, 0 hours. They're not obligated to give you any shifts. This fact is made abundantly clear when you take the role. I've got no idea. That's the way they speak. That's the voice I'm going to give them. Not much sympathy there. Complete indifference, I'd say, with a side order of application that the person in that story is stupid. Second most
I
liked.
seem to be near a never fortress.
So, 0 hours, suited
Those
you,
coordinates.
going okay. Now, it doesn't
The
suit
coordinates
you,
to that
you're
one, so that's
get a proper
minus.
job then.
Well, you know what? Just go up into it.
The other one is minus 200 and plus 400, so it's definitely not that one.
Aggression. So, not much support for the workers of the NHS there. Maybe
No, I'm
we
pretty
feel
sure
we
it's
are
not one
doing
that
our
we've
bit by
been to.
supporting them for a minute a week. That's your lot. Don't ask for a pay rise. We're not socialists, you know. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk.
Try and get over to there.
On Twitter, it's
Climb up to
@lbc.
there.
Friday, Saturday night at 10. Nick Hammer, LBC.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Weekday mornings from 7.
Housing Community and Local Government Secretary Robert Jenrick. What level of detail has the Prime Minister shared with you about what we hear next week about the easing of restrictions?
Well, the Prime Minister said yesterday that we will be setting out the plan for the next phase, and that will include guidance to businesses, to working people, and to families with children as to what to expect in the weeks and months to come.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Xero, get your business digital ready with Xero accounting software.
LBC. It's time for some truth. Time to settle once and for all that nagging doubt about whether you've been missold. If you've lost money on a stocks and shares ISA or investment bond sold by a bank as a claims management company, Goodwin Barrett could get to the truth and deliver you compensation. You could do all this yourself and refer to the Financial Ombudsman for free, but there are so many other things you may want to do with your time. So text SOLD to 78900. That's SOLD to 78900. Time for some truth.
If you want to do something important, work in adult social care. I'm Georgia. I love social care because you never know what each day will bring. The thing that I would say to anybody that was thinking about a job in social care is go for it.
Oh, you know, I've got up about 4
We're
flights of
recruiting in
stairs.
your local area.
Whoa.
We need you now.
Oh, this,
And they need
oh
you
wow, this
always.
balcony has a fucking view.
Care for others. Make a difference. Today. Search adult social care jobs now.
This is LBC with Nick Roberts.
Mixtec, Jeremy says, no, I've read that. Martin says, let's try this one. If an opinionist, David Icke, can be taken off Facebook for allegedly spreading misinformation, shouldn't those same principles apply to a certain American president? That is fake news. The way to protect yourself from coronavirus is to inject cleaning liquid into your eyeballs and cat poop. Take a big hand of cat poop and eat it. I mean, what have you got to lose?
Jesus, this one's fucking good.
Hi, Nick. Yes, I think I might have picked up a bit of a pattern going on here because the government are about to announce that our 2-metre social distancing should come down to 1.5 meters to conform with what the rest of the world and the WHO are recommending. So when it suits them, they adjust the social distancing length, and then when you've got PPE, they downgrade what nurses are supposed to wear, and then tell them they can wear expanse. So it seems to me that they're actually sort of fitting recommendations into the sort of resources they've got or what they want people to do rather than the scientific facts.
Yes, right. I think that's absolutely right. When they say that we're guided by the science,
Yeah.
what they mean is they're guided
I've gone
by
up
the
so many
science.
different ones now. In my head I feel like I'm gonna get confused, but I know that if I just follow it, it doesn't matter if you go up or down a level either. Yeah, not bad, not bad. That's the thing, it doesn't matter if you go up or down a level, because you'll eventually have to turn back, and then, yeah.
On themselves for their ineptitude.
And the other thing, another point that I've got with this is that they
Definitely fucking different.
the science.
The one time I don't check it will be the one time it will actually do
And scientists disagree with each other hugely on subjects. There is the science, what they're trying to convince the public of is that they are doing.
Okay, we're going to search this for Trish book. We're going to do it by the book. Ah, what the fuck? Where the hell did you come from? Oh, this is
Some things are relatively settled, like the sun is across the sky by magnets. Most scientists would agree on that. But other things like this new evolving menace is not old enough to have a settled science. And some countries are taking some measures and science and some.
I've come down these stairs, but there's a place behind. So do I go behind or front first?
40 years, global warming was not the science, it was disputed. Now it's indisputable.
yeah, just make sure whatever path you take, you go left when you come out of it. And then
I've done it in
when you come back round, you figure it out. Just stick to feet left and you'll be fine.
6060973.
I won't
Dave
find
thinks, I
mine.
think I might be allowed to. Well, check your mirror and see which way your eyelids close. Christine texts, how many of these people that are attacking the 5G infrastructure do you think have listened to the War of the Worlds or watched it? If you recall, a lot of people started shooting at water towers in the US during the radio broadcast during the 1930s. I doubt this new set of troglodytes could have come up with such an idea as taking out the towers.
Where are you coming from?
There's morons all
What
over
the
the
hell? Where the massive archway bridge where I am?
reading what the morons are
Holy
writing.
crap.
Alex Jones, and this is a name that keeps coming up over and over again. If you want to be really scared out of your wits, go look up Alex Jones on the World Wide Web. I double dare you. This is the fellow that a Texas judges have just ordered pay $100,000 in another court setback of the InfoWars host using his radio internet show, whatever, to promote falsehoods. The 2012 Sandy Hook school massacre was a hoax. You're saying that over and over again. It's a hoax, it's a hoax, it's a hoax. Why in God's name would anybody make a hoax about the kids being killed? He's being sued for defamation in Austin, in Texas, by the parents of a 6-year-old who was among the 26 people killed.
Don't get my fucking way, prick.
Sandy Hook.
Oh, you dickhead.
Alex Jones operates InfoWars in Texas. He's fighting similar lawsuits in Connecticut by other families of Sandy Hook victims for promoting a theory that the shooting was a hoax. A 20-year-old gunman killed 20 first-grade children, 6 educators, and himself in school after having killed his mother at their Newtown home. The family said they had been subjected to harassment and death threats from Jones' followers because of the hoax conspiracy. Only in America, death threats. Your kid gets shot at school, but because some moron is bleating about it on his internet radio show, they get death threats on top of having their children shot. Well, I'm sure it gets good ratings. In a 2013 broadcast, Alex Jones warned that, of course, there's weather weapon stuff going on, according to a transcript produced by Media Matters, a left-leaning watchdog organization. He said, we have floods in Texas like 15 years ago, killed 30-something people in one night. Turned out it was the Air Force. He insisted that a May 2013 tornado that killed 24 people and left more than 200 injured may have been orchestrated by the government, which he said, quotes, can create and steer groups of tornadoes. People believe this stuff. One of Alex Jones' most notorious conspiracy theories is that the government is using chemicals in order to turn people gay, using a mysterious gay bomb devised by the Pentagon. He said, the reason there's so many gay people now is because it's a chemical warfare operation, and I have the government documents where they said they're going to encourage homosexuality with chemicals so that people don't have children. He said that on his broadcast in 2010, according to NBC News. 5 years later, the theory took a turn. In a rant that has since become a meme and a line of t-shirts, Jones said that he didn't like the government, quotes, putting chemicals in the water that turns the bleeping frogs gay. Just look at the people who are at that 5G rally in the sun. There's loads of pictures of them. And God, most of them were like they would know how to operate a bar of soap. And there's loads of them. If that many showed up to protest in front of Scotland Yard, where they're almost certain to get arrested, then you've got to know that there's 100-fold, 1,000-fold sitting at home, typing out their fury on the internet that nobody believes them. Come on, wake up, sheeple, they'll say. Morons. We're surrounded by morons. And gay frogs, by the way. Have you heard? And he says, oh no, if they reduce the social distancing margin, those poor store staff will have to move all those stickers over their shop floors. Well, that's right. I feel sorry for that. I mean, I feel sorry for a lot of people for various different reasons. A lot of people that deserve our pity and our support. But those people that sit at the tills of supermarkets The people that go beep, 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 they've just got to sit there. They can't go anywhere. They're stuck there in this little sort of prison cubicle while a parade of diseased people shuffle by them all day long. God, what a nightmare. No PPE for them. I tried to swerve the people on the tools and to use those machines that you go and zap your food before you put it in the trolley. I just can't remember to do it.
Oh, hello.
I'm very good at the first couple of things, and then it shows up.
Well, Flint and Steel, maybe not so much because you didn't make one of those yourself. But Saddle,
Oh, good boy, I am.
I don't know.
And then about 5 minutes later, I realised
Flint
there were 100 things in my
and
trolley,
iron.
all of which I forgot to
Oh,
beat.
Flint. Oh, there.
Damn it.
Yeah, you know what it says Flint and Steel? It's just literally Flint and iron. Literally all it is.
Well, I'll leave that then, because then I'll free up some space for the doodah.
Probably super
And I'll change all the subblocks as well, because
0345 6060 973.
what are fast tierings? That's something useful.
Manual cream, I know it's in potion basket, I can't remember, but you better have taken some.
What, both?
1900, that's
Yes.
6:30 in the evening.
Right, you ready to see how much blocks we can make out
There
of
were
this?
20 people in front of me
Yeah.
in the market. I had my NHS ID on. People smiled.
Not even
Acknowledged me.
four.
I said, "Please go
I've
ahead."
got
I bet
4
they're
full
all that
blocks
late, yeah.
and some more.
Yeah.
So if I was to
We're
make
kidding
those
ourselves.
in,
We're not remotely interested in supporting the
I now
NHS. We don't
have
care about them.
5
If
full
we did,
blocks and a block of
we'd give them
62.
a little bit about taxes. But we had the
And
choice.
4 of something
And we
else.
thought,
Oh,
no,
obsidian. I
that's
randomly picked up some
socialism.
obsidian.
I'd rather keep
That's
my
dead.
taxes. I'd rather keep the extra, let's say,
That's
£1,000
dead
a
end,
year,
yeah.
with which I can buy myself a frothy coffee on the way to work every day. Because that'll make a difference in my life.
Really?
As opposed to if everybody paid an extra £1,000 a year in tax and the government collated it together and they gave the nurses a pay rise or hired more of them, then we'd all benefit. But like I said, that's socialism. And no thanks is what we said in the last election. And the one before that, and the one before that. But, you know, at least to get a round of applause for a minute at 8 o'clock on Thursday, weather permitting. We've done our bit. 0345 6060 973. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC.
Okay, so all this lot is the end.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This
All this
is
section is dead
LBC.
end, but it is the way that's
From Global's Metroma at 11 o'clock, the Prime Minister has spoken about how he was close to death after being rushed into intensive care suffering from coronavirus. Political editor at The Sun on Sunday, David Wooding, spoke to Boris Johnson and he told LBC what the Prime Minister said.
Well, he went into graphic detail about the stark situation of his deteriorating health condition and how he battled and actually stared death in the face. And the situation was so serious that the doctors planned how to make an announcement if the worst should happen. To use his words, they were making plans for a death of Stalin type scenario.
The Prime Minister was admitted to hospital with COVID-19 on April the 5th and was taken into intensive care 2 days later. Mr. Johnson said he was given litres and litres of oxygen to keep him alive. A further 621 people have died with coronavirus in the UK. The latest figure includes those who've passed away in hospitals, care homes and the wider community.
Hey,
Which is the total
finally.
death toll here to more than 28,000.
Whoop! Oh, Jesus Christ. I literally turned the corner and there was 2 normal skeletons and 2 river skeletons, like, right there, just all having a chat.
Some people say that being been advised by officials to
Yeah,
put
yeah,
away
yeah.
and apply
Do you
again.
want what?
Flint and
Extra
steel
funding
Uh-huh.
and
to
gold
the
plate.
most vulnerable in society. And
I must
now
admit,
the
I've been finding a lot of
has been
chests in this
promised
one.
by the government. The
This
Housing
one's got loads of
Secretary
chests in
Robert Jenrick
I've already seen
outlined
two
new
more that I
measures
haven't
at
got
today's
to.
Downing Street briefing. He said £76 million will go
I've
towards
got another
private
saddle
There's
child,
one
maybe.
down there,
sexual abuse, vulnerable
and then one
children, and
like
victims
one
of
over there.
modern slavery.
That's the thing, you keep following the left thing, you'll get
Watching
to
at
it.
home this afternoon. Let
Let
me say once again that you are
Oh,
not
I'm
alone.
doing another little trick as well.
You do
Mm.
When I
not
come to a
have
ladder
stay at home.
that's
You
got
can
two
and
possible
should
options to it,
leave the home.
what I do is, you know where I place 1, 2, 3
Jenrick
to
has
say
also
I've blocked it off?
plans to reduce
I'm now placing
homelessness
1
after the
on one
pandemic.
side to say
David
that's where I have come
Lee's
from.
a new government
So when
task
I
force
eventually go, so say if I, you know, I get to a fork in the road, right? Or say if I'm walking up to some stairs, I see some stairs there, and there's a bit behind it. In that gap there, I'm putting 1 block down. So no matter which way I go, I'll eventually come back round, and I'll be like, where did I come from? There's 1 block there, and now I know where I've come from.
Harry plans to get people back to work and children to school. Dr. Jenny Harry
Oh,
says
another
the
saddle.
Deputy Chief Medical Officer of England
And I've just literally come back to that point as well.
questions about how long
I can
pubs will have to
So
stay
two
closed.
saddles.
If you
that
go
off.
with a whole load of friends that you haven't seen from before the coronavirus lockdown, sit in a pub in a very small
In a pub?
environment, lean well
Oh,
over
God.
each other on the table and stay there for some hours.
Wait, give me drink, give me
I think
drink!
That's really not a good thing to do.
Right, so all that bit's locked off.
Oh, fucking hell, just you don't be good, man. Don't scare me like that.
And within the last half an hour, President Trump has tweeted to say that he's glad to see North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is back and well. Mr. Kim was seen for the first time in 20 days last night, putting to rest reports about his ill health and even rumoured death following surgery.
Hey, another saddle!
Showers tonight to leave a chilly night with
I've
clear
got some
smells
obsidian.
across many parts of the UK, but
Fucking
cloudy in
Flint
the
and
north
steel
west and
again.
southwest with
You know
some
what, I've
patchy
got a
rain.
bow here. I'm going to put it into me inventory. Okay, get it. Oh, no. No, that's a bad idea. Leave my nipple up at least. That's the one that we got one. So this
This
is
story
all.
about the aerosol.
That's the one you
the,
got.
the nature of the virus.
Oh, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
I'll just
Hello.
give you a bit of it.
Hang on.
Alarming. A growing number of studies, including one published this week in the journal
Oh.
Nature, found evidence that the coronavirus can remain suspended in the air in aerosol particles. That raises in you the question of whether and to what extent the virus can be transmitted as an aerosol, although the evidence is far from conclusive and no such infections have been documented. See,
Another saddle.
as far as I understand.
That's 3 saddles I've got from this sports trip.
Then the chunks. I know that's a horrible way of describing it, but I can't think of any of the droplets.
No.
There you go.
Did
The
I?
droplets. The chunky droplets.
Yeah.
Full with gravity.
Whoa, you can
Aerosols
see
don't
that, mate.
professor of light. And that can
Yeah,
be expelled with sneezes, the heavy bits drop straight away, but this cloud of droplets just starts to move about the room. Anyway, back to the story. The consensus so far is that the virus, although very contagious, spreads through respiratory droplets generated when people breathe, speak, or cough, and does not infect people through particles that can linger in the air for hours, in the way that measles or some other viral diseases can. But the research is fueling a scientific debate over one of the most basic questions about the novel coronavirus: how it spreads, and doing so at a time of high anxiety and rattle nerves. Outbreaks linked to crowded
Oh
indoor
my God.
environments such as
A
prisons,
fucking wither skeleton,
packing plants,
magma cube
cramped call
things,
centre,
and blades.
and a restaurant may serve as warnings about the perils of reopening. Well, I said it yesterday. I think that the government is going to have a hard time getting us to go out to the restaurants.
Right, look at all this fucking enemies.
You're impelled to
Oh, you've got
go
your this. I'd eat enough apples because then you get regeneration for a short period of time.
restaurants and cafes and all that.
There you go.
I'd be surprised if we embraced the notion of doing that anytime soon. Apex, I wouldn't want to go out and
Jesus
play in the
Christ.
wild when they lift the restrictions. Not only is there a cat and mouse game with coronavirus, but there are Donnies
Simon
and reptilians
O'Donnell.
running cancer. Well spotted, Ava. Let's have a call in Queensway. Ash.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hi, can you hear me?
yes, Ash.
Yeah, just wanted to mention, for people that are not kind of adhering to the lockdown, so my mum died just over 3 weeks ago.
Sorry.
Thank you. It was due to it was due to the coronavirus. She had a really high temperature, she was finding it difficult to breathe. We called an ambulance, and that was the last time I'd ever seen her. I tried to call up a little earlier, but I think it was just kind of
Oh, I think it's where I came in.
to kind of get through. However, I thought I kind of mentioned that she felt self-isolated.
Okay. You're in the same fucking spot, really.
Within the whole lockdown period.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Well, I got back round to where I came out.
Came back
Nice.
and literally no symptoms for probably 4 or 5 days after the last
Oh,
time he left.
I'm guessing this is
It
school.
it just
Maybe.
They've just killed these. Like, literally just now.
and unfortunately we lost her.
Well, that's terrible. So, the message that you want to give to people is what?
The message is adhere to the lockdown. It's there for a reason. I was, when it all first.
Did you get cut off or stop?
We lost him.
Oh.
I think we lost him. Ash. No, we can't.
Yeah, sorry about that. Just maybe just one. Right. Hi. Sorry.
Yes. Right, go ahead.
So I was relatively flippant when kind of the whole lockdown came about. I mean, I adhered to it, and the only time I was actually going out was literally just going to kind of Tesco's and grabbing food for the house. I was quite arrogant about it, and I was thinking, it's not going to affect me. It's not going to affect me. However, I lost the most important person in my life as a result of it. So my message would be, it's there for a reason, and I'd hate for anyone else to kind of go through what I've gone through, because it wasn't just a case of losing my mother, but it was everything else that's happened since as well. I mean, it's just been extremely difficult. Even in terms of kind of like family, I think things are falling apart now. Even if there's one person out there that that can kind of take this message on board and ends up saving just one person's life, then it's kind of just worth me mentioning that.
Well, I appreciate you calling, Ash, and I wish you all the best for the future. Thanks for that. Yeah, I think that is a common experience with people. I'm guilty of that too, thinking, well, it's out there and it's what other people are getting. Much like anything else that you can think of, cancer and heart disease and all these things that we know exist. We think it's what other people get. And yeah, there is an arrogance that we all are born with, that we possess some sort of exceptional resistance to whatever other people are getting. And that's in other sort of spheres of life, there's a tendency to blame other people for having caught these things, by which method you sort of externalise the threat, and that is not something that can happen to me because I'm not one of those people. But we do that with all sorts of things, like homelessness, for instance. I mean, everybody is a couple of paychecks away from losing their home. And we're all dancing on the edge, as far as that's concerned. Very, very few of us have got any savings or whatever, anything like that. But so we pass a homeless person on the road and think, he's probably been injecting heroin, or he's drunk, or he had some problem that I, a superior individual, could easily have handled. That's not me. That's somebody who is practically deserves their fate. All of these things sort of cross your mind. And it's the same with the disease. We think, he smoked or he ate too much, or drank too much.
I shot a normal skeleton and a river skeleton, and they dropped down
because
there.
it helps us to deny the possibility of getting it ourselves. And I think that there's a bit of that with this COVID-19 going about as well. You think about...
Yeah, I've had another question on my Minecraft transferring video.
Alright.
They said, do you need Expert 5 Gold in order to do the transfer? And I put...
Craig, Texas, anybody with a common cold that's gone. It normally turns up around about this time of year, but after the change in good weather...
Yeah, I put, as far as I'm aware, no. The only reason you need Expert 5 Gold would be to play multiplayer. You shouldn't need gold to do this transfer. And it's just transferring the upload... it's just transferring plus uploading the save from console to console, which isn't anything to do with online multiplayer. If you could test it out and let me know, I'd actually switch in the video. And then they replied back saying, well, some YouTubers saying you do need gold, others saying you don't. To be honest, it's really stupid. And I don't think I needed gold when I was doing that, because you're not playing online, you just... The only reason you need gold for this sort of thing on the 360
you should move to SNL. You do Trump better than Alec Baldwin. On TV, you don't have to actually do it very well. You just got to look the part.
On the 360 is on the 360 they have cloud saves, which you could save stuff in the cloud as opposed to locally to the console, but you needed gold for that. On the Xbox One, everything's just stored in the cloud generically. You don't need a special gold for that. But on the 360, that's when you're like manually moving your save into the cloud using their native file browsing thing on the 360. I'm pretty sure you don't. I'd like to test that out now, actually. I don't have a fucking 360.
I can't afford to zombie big man.
Vitamin C and E helps support your immune system, and especially tailored for different life stages. And we deliver them direct to your door, because that's the healthspan way. Well, there you go. That didn't take long, did it? We're Healthspan. That's healthspan.co.uk. Vitamins and supplements direct to your door.
Pets in a Pickle have your pets covered with pet insurance policies as unique as they are. Visit petsinthepickle.co.uk. Goodwin Barrett has helped thousands of people get to the truth and the compensation they deserve. If you've lost money on a stocks and shares ISA sold by a bank, text GOOD to 78900.
This is an important message from the government. For now, we must all still stay at home. It can be hard, but it's making a difference. So please keep going for the ones you love. Keep going for every key worker on the front line as they keep going for us. Keep going, because together we will beat the virus. To all of you making sacrifices every day, thank you. Stay home. Protect the NHS. Save lives.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
Just on the subject of Trump impersonators, by the way, I should pass this on. There's a bloke called John D. Domenico, who is the best Trump impersonator you've ever seen. I mean, he's absolutely hilarious. I've linked a couple of his videos on my Twitter feed. If you look at that from a while ago, then you'll see the links that I put up there. Or you're just dial it up on the World Wide Web. It's called John D. Domenico. And if you type that in and put Trump negative in the search engine, then you'll come up with a video that's just hilarious. I tested more negative than anybody who's ever taken the coronavirus test. So negative. Does it way better than I do. And it's well worth a good long while of your time. John D. Domenico is his name. He is great. Let's have Stansted, Simon.
Hello.
Simon.
Hello. I'm a last speaker. So I want to talk about the 2 metre thing in the supermarkets. Is that alright?
Go ahead.
Okay. So it's loads of overloaded really. So front to back, forward, somebody's in front of you. It's quite easy to do that 2 metres. Side to side between that aisle that's got the cheese in, for argument's sake, and that aisle that's got the yogurts in, for argument's sake. That can only actually, it's depending on what store you go to, it's either 2.7 metres, edge to edge, or 2.6, or on a massive store, it's 3.2. So, my store, I've not gone in there and the tape measure, but I know it's 2.6.
They were very precise measurements. You measure them with a tape measure. What did you buy it?
I've worked in supermarkets for a lot of time. And I know measurements.
You know your aisles. Yeah.
Yes, we fit certain things, and I'm not going to name supermarkets, whatever. So anyway, 2 points I'm trying to make here. You cannot, on my supermarket, it is Tesco's actually, my local supermarket, have got this brilliant one-way system going on. It's really good. But someone like a
One-way system? Really?
A one-way system, yeah, you go up 1 mile, you miss an aisle, you come back down, it's a brilliant system.
What about if you go up an aisle, you go past the baked beans,
Are you still in that same
you need
fortress?
baked beans, and you're up an
Fucking
aisle.
hell.
Well, exactly, but how do you
Yeah, I
go
was
backwards?
way over there.
Because there is a 3 metre aisle,
And you're still going lefty left
and
for
there's a 3 metre aisle at the end, and there's a 3 metre aisle,
Yeah, mine was pretty small.
between the end of the
Well, I did get some freaking good loot out of it though.
Very precise measurements.
3 saddles,
Suspiciously precise.
diamond horse armour.
so you can
I took some obsidian, I don't know why, I didn't really need obsidian, but I was just like, fuck it, I'll take it.
down the aisles, you can't do it, the people overtake you. So they're the people
Every time I get to one of these end bits here,
that are dealing
and I see
with
you never bought stuff, I'm sort of stopping and getting some.
Yeah.
I might as well, because it's kind of the whole point of being in there.
Well, yeah, that you know, dead end, might as well.
Because all I have to do is turn around and be like, oh yeah, there, as well.
Yeah, well, as long as you remember that, because I know what you're bloody like, you know.
I'm not going too far
I
away.
hold my breath when I go past. I hold my breath when I go past people in the street. But when I was in the supermarket last time, I after about being in there for about 5 minutes, I forgot about all this. I mean, I can't be the only one that just forgets, because you're in the supermarket, it's something you've done 1,000 times before, and you act in a certain way. And the way we're acting now is completely unusual. It's the first time we've ever done this as human beings. And so
we've been doing it for 6 weeks now, so surely now it is actually.
No, we haven't. We have not been doing it for 6 or 7 weeks. We've been doing it once or twice for 6 or 7 weeks. Not 6 or 7 weeks in total. It's just a couple of times. I mean, I've been to the supermarket.
So how can you get used to that in that time? You said that.
Listen to me, Simon. It's not a thing you can get used to by only doing it once or twice a month.
Excuse me, mate. Can you not cut off, yeah?
Can I ask you a question? When you said about doing the bleep thing, was that you, or was that somebody else texted in that done that? Went into your local supermarket and done the bleep, and then forgot to bleep some stuff. Was it actually you that done that?
Yeah, it was me. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Is that so strange?
Yes.
In what way?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what was the same, insulting you, to be honest with you. It's like, if you saw that,
we can trade insults if you like, Simon. I think I'll come out of it better than you will. But you go around a supermarket, you put things in your trolley, and if it's the first time you've used that handheld device to bleed things when you put them in your trolley, I just forgot that I was supposed to be doing that. And about halfway around, I
You've been
realised
scratching
at
again.
least
No, but I'm all itchy. I feel like something's pulling on me.
There's nothing there.
in my normal
It feels
way
like
of
it's
shopping.
it's got from there down there.
I know what you're saying, but trust me, there's nothing on you. You're just scratching and you've made it
Surely
ready.
I thought after helping him, I just took you up at the till. If that makes me a stupid idiot in your furious little world, Simon, then they can't be guilty. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nick
I'm going for a swim. Yeah, where do I need to go?
Michael emails, Nick, I tried a teaspoon of bleach and a couple of drops of disinfectant, and now my skin is looking kind of orange.
Oh, it's fine, spawn.
Do you think that Trump wants us all to look like
Oh, yeah.
him?
All the spawners I've been finding, I've just been destroying.
I would recommend that last bloke tried just that. Teaspoon of bleach and a couple of drops of disinfectant.
Yeah, exactly. Don't need them. We're just literally exploring. Hey, you don't need to block that bit up there.
3 or 4 of them.
No, but it's easier for me to do.
And then you block up that bit as well. Okay. Okay, well, you know what? It works, okay? I was just trying to save you some more stuff. But I suppose when you get to a dead end like that, you can just, replenish.
Really? Tell me more about the numbers. I hold my breath now, even by passing them in the street. You want to dive in and get some coffee, and somebody's just hovering there, just staring gormlessly at the shelves as though the right product is going to magically
Wow, where did you fucking come from?
just stand there breathing for long enough. Well, you hold your breath and you dive in and you get what you want. And you come back around about 5 minutes later and still standing there. Mesmerised. It's coffee. Pick one. Stephen text, did you see North Korea's dear leader appeared in public for the first time in weeks to thunderous cheers and hurrah as the first fertilizer factory?
Let's not do that.
Yeah, he showed up at a fertilizer
Not
factory.
do that.
How about that? Here, we take a break here. Somebody in the studio told me. We have. See? I'm way ahead of schedule. Brixton, Simon.
Oh, hi there. Thanks for taking my call. I watch these London Real videos occasionally. They come on my timeline. I'm actually one of the people that complained about the David Icke one. And yeah, I think it's important. The previous caller was talking about his mother passing away. And I'm not surprised that he had his YouTube channel cancelled. He was saying just all kinds of untruths. One of them was, when they're testing people with COVID-19, they're actually just testing their temperature, and that could be caused by the flu. So COVID-19 is a conspiracy, and that's just not true. They test different antibodies, for example. And yeah, it's dangerous stuff. And the same YouTube channel promotes paid promotions for buying cryptocurrencies. And I know people that watch the channel and believe it, people that work in my building and good people, when they say, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to this video, they're going to tell us which cryptocurrencies to buy. The guy that's running it is just a kind of fun artist. And
well, he may or may not be. I mean, some people have made a staggering amount of money through bitcoins and things like that. But like most things of that type, you really need to be in at the beginning. It's a pyramid scheme. Really.
I would have loved to have known what Bitcoin was when it started, because I actually looked this up, and the value of one Bitcoin, you could have bought one Bitcoin for a tenner, £5. One Bitcoin is worth it's a stupid amount. It is a really stupid amount, and I will look it up now.
So, I mean, I think, why do I believe in climate change and things like that? And I think, well, basically it's because I'm listening to the news, reading newspapers, things like that, and they tell me, and I sort of make a judgment. If you're just surrounded by YouTube...
One Bitcoin now is worth £7,141. And there was a point where you could buy it for a £5 or a tenner. You could have bought one. But the value of it has just gone up so high, it's just ridiculous.
Well, the algorithms of these sites are set up to maximise the number of adverts that you see, so that they will, if you look up David Icke or Alex Jones' video, then they think, this person is interested in this stuff. We're going to give them a lot more of this stuff so that they keep looking at our website. And so they just get fed a positive reinforcement of that opinion over and over and over again. And it's just site after site after site. And so it would make somebody of low IQ or who is easily susceptible think that this is common knowledge, and only sheeple such as yourself, Simon, and people have been brainwashed by the mainstream media. Only they are the ones that are unaware of what's really going on. And by the way, if anybody says mainstream media to you, Simon, they just smile benignly and back slowly out of the room. Don't make any sudden moves.
Well, the trouble is, I end up debating with these people, and it takes, before you know it, they're coming up with all kinds of conspiracy theories to try and debate, and then not kind of getting to my office where I should be. I mean, one of them said, I said, well, David Icke, I don't believe in a lot of most of what he says. And he's like, well, why not? And I always said, well, he says that the moon is actually a monitoring station. And it's a spaceship that's monitoring everyone's communications. And he said, well, the moon is made of metal. It makes a ping if you hit it. And of course, you can find a YouTube video that proves this. Obviously, there's no sound in space, but that was lost on the guy telling you this. And any weird theory that you come up with, just like back in the day, you could prove something with encyclopedia. Now you can prove in inverted commas with a YouTube video. There'll be something up on YouTube. People are not taught to analyse. They're not taught philosophy in school. They're not taught basic logic, and it's so safe affair.
You don't really need anything like that. All you need to do is to cross-check your information with reliable sources of the news, by which I mean take the Mail Online and the Guardian and the Times and the Telegraph and any other reliable source of news, and if they all say so, then there's probably some justification in thinking that what you're reading is true. If they don't, and it's just some guy who's sitting at home clacking away on his keyboard in his underwear in the basement of his mother's house, then it's probably not true. I'm just saying. But thanks for that, Simon. 0345 6060 973. So before the news, let me remind you of the podcast that I do with Carol McGiffin, who is an extremely funny person, and with her I do a podcast called
Everyone out on your birthday,
in which we try to solve your problems. If you want us to solve your problem, then email Nick and Carol at global.com. NICKANDCAROL at global.
because that would be something that they would probably have a laugh about and like go off on one.
Try to solve your problem for you while having the maximum amount of fun while we're doing it. You can get it where you get podcasts. Ask for it by name. Or what's your problem with Nick and Carol? Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC. The time is 11:30. The news headlines with Zora Sullivan.
The Prime Minister has revealed more details about his time in intensive care suffering from coronavirus. Boris Johnson said at one point he was so ill with the virus last month that doctors were working out how to tell the public about his death. Domestic abuse victims in England will be given priority for housing following a rise in calls to a domestic abuse helpline during the coronavirus lockdown. Communities Secretary Robert Jenrick has announced a £76 million package of measures to support the most vulnerable in society. An English conspiracy theorist, David Icke, has had his official channel deleted from YouTube after violating its policies by posting misleading information about the coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah, I can get over that in 1 minute. No need to waste an apple.
Mr. Icke's official page. Obviously, weather or showers dying out to leave a chilly
Well, I'm at
night.
minus 73,555. I've started making my way back because I've got so much like weird and random crap on me. It's just
This
yeah.
is
I'll
LBC.
probably end up heading back once I finish this plane.
If you want to do something
I think, yeah, I started heading back with the mind of the like, I've just got so much crap. I just need to empty the inventory and then have another crack at it. But maybe I don't go too far this time.
we are recruiting
I think I might just do a sort of
We need you now.
delve
And
into
they
it.
need
What?
you always. Care for others.
That's there, which means I've already been down here.
Search adult
Yeah.
social care jobs now.
But I've just come from this place.
Across the nation, we've been discovering loads of new ways to get moving around the home. Why not join in? Join the lounge lunging, the 1-2
Hold
punch,
on.
and the star jumping while the spaghetti's on hold. Yes, careful, don't get that water.
Let me just dig myself in somewhere.
Oh, unless this bit's all, yeah, this all blocked off. For some reason I haven't got that one. So yeah, that's where I need to go.
That's blocked off.
That needs to be blocked off. All of that's blocked off. All the way to going that way is blocked
Yeah,
off.
so you'd end up going up there and then blocking off this little bit back there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't forget that, otherwise you'll confuse yourself again.
Right,
There we go.
there we go.
There we go. Right, and here we go. New little trick. Ooh, be careful.
Join the chairlifts, leg lifts, and just shaking things out for a bit, happening all across the country. It's time to stay in and work out.
If you put a block down, like just one block there, that way you know, like no matter which way you go, which way you take it, and
0345 606 0973. Lauren emails. I keep losing the plot and decide to go.
Oh, that's the
see
way that
my
I came
dad
in.
and keep my
I
sanity.
first came in.
I listened to your caller Ash, and he has made a difference to me.
oh, so now you've gone all the way around left. Now you just you're on the last bit now.
No, that's blocked off as well. So I've done it.
That means you come there and there. So
I've done it all.
that. Oh, okay. So block that off. Oh, hold on. So if you were to block that off,
Yeah.
and then carry on walking.
Treats problem very casually to the point
Done there,
that
done there, and have you been up there?
This is the way out.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's not the way out, but it's the way that I came in.
Advised that he boasts then of going to a hospital ridden with disease and says that he shakes hands with everybody in there. To no surprise, then falls ill with said virus, nearly dies, and comes back
came up.
looking like he's been hold. You know, like a sheaf of corn is hold. Looks like he's had his insides taken out.
What's the coordinates for home again?
Virtually 0, 0.
Tries to
Minus 12 and minus 7.
channel Churchill in his usual way, but it might
Okay,
not be
so I'm at minus 12 on the first one, so.
I think he needs a lot more rest. Vidal says, bad news, you may hold your breath till you almost pass out when you're in the supermarket, like myself, but this virus can be transmitted via your eyes too. So you have to walk around with your eyes full of protection. Well, that's just an excellent idea, Vidal.
Yeah.
Thanks, I'll try that out. Oh. It's quite surprising how little I can hold my breath. Really painful.
Well, that would
Really
be.
quickly.
Fucking hell. Fucking hell, Sam.
Absolutely rubbish as a fish. New Malden, Ahmed.
Minus 12, minus 7, so.
Minus 12 and minus 7.
When COVID-19,
Oh, fuck it.
coronavirus is concerned spreading, and you take the question, did the government ministers really realize
Oh shit, I didn't do that many fucking apples.
the horror of this virus, how devastating it is? We have lost more than 30,000 people. How many more lives will be lost? Because they seem to be walking from one crisis to another. Everything so far is questionable. There are issues with everything. What's going on?
I think there's also issues with the number of deaths that we're talking about, because they keep saying 28,000 deaths in hospital, and I think they have now been shamed into including people who have died outside hospital.
Yeah. I'm quite pleased about that.
That was unforgivable, to keep telling us a number that was approximately half what the true number is, because they tagged on the end, in brackets, in small print, in hospital deaths, not just deaths, which is how they show their faces in public after being troubled.
It's just going through the routine while people are dying in hospital. And people are, the medical staff in the front line who are actually having to deal with the infected patient, they don't have protective clothing, as it should have been, like like they're using in South Korea, China,
I'm gonna
Japan,
go on the way home,
Singapore, and all
but
the other
look out
countries.
for this stuff as
Well,
well.
all of
So
those
I'm
other
going for
countries
it.
have not had
I would do
10
the same
years
thing,
of
but
underfunding the health
I
service
agree.
and the care for outside
No,
of hospitals.
I'm sure even now in crisis time like this, they could have marshaled a lot of equipment if they had it going the right way. Everyone was saying, oh, China, they got a draconian regulations going on and this and that. Well, all these countries, South Korea, Japan, Singapore, they contained it. And we have let the whole thing go. In fact, if they had really followed their example, we wouldn't have had a need for a lockdown. And it seems to have been contained. Testing is the key to all this. You know.
But the only country that hasn't had a lockdown
I'm like
is
200 blocks away from
Sweden.
home now, so
They've gone their own way.
I should be getting out this lava pit fucking shortly.
Well, listen to me. They may be suffering
I
more
love
in
that
the
we
short term.
shut up and listen to me.
It's quite possible that we'll all come out even, with the difference being that their economy won't have had as big a hit as ours.
I think I'm finding holes where we've like dug out stuff.
Get the foreign perspective of how you're doing, because you get sort of subsumed with information in your own country.
Yeah, that's definitely a hole we've made.
To get an overview, it's good to get what foreigners are seeing is happening in this country. And CNN wrote the following. The British government has claimed to win its battle against coronavirus. Health Secretary Matt Hancock asserted on Friday that it had met a headline-grabbing aim of conducting 100,000 daily COVID-19 tests by the end of April. The figure was 122,347, he said, although officials conceded that 40,000 odd of those were sent to people's homes or to satellite testing centres and had not necessarily been processed by labs. Again, it seemed like massaging the stats. Whether the target was hit or missed, there are other failings. The UK is on track to have one of the highest coronavirus death tolls in Europe, with more than 26,000 deaths recorded by Wednesday. Its patchwork of care homes for the elderly had been ravaged by disease. There's been near-daily reports of insufficient personal protective equipment on the front line, meaning doctors, nurses and care home workers risk catching it every time they go to work. And despite ministers' repeated insistence that they are being, quotes, guided by the science in their coronavirus response, secrecy still shrouds the nature of that scientific advice. So far, the government appears to have successfully batted away suggestions.
I've tunneled into the side of the cobblestone where they never put it in. I'm like, what's the cobblestone here? I'm like, boing. I think I would just keep that there actually. Next time we come out, I'll be like, I'm going this way now. It's literally, you come out of the nether portal, chuck a right and you're in a tunnel straight away. Oh, that's funny.
Attempt to stop the virus in its tracks by tracking every outbreak and tracing its origins, and moves to the delay phase,
No.
effort to flatten the curve and prevent the health service from being overloaded. On that day, March the 12th, Johnson stood before journalists, flanked by his scientific and medical advisors, and admitted that many more families are going to lose
Keep going.
ones. But he did not go
Yeah,
as far as
because both the numbers are going down.
that would come over a week later.
Because you want the negative one to go up or slash down to 0, and then you want that one to go down. So yeah, you want to be going that
It's
way.
very important that we're guided by the science, Johnson said, using a phrase that was to become a favourite of government ministers. There is very little epidemiological or medical reason at the moment to ban such events, he said. People should get that phrase put on a t-shirt so he never forgets it. On March the 23rd, in a televised address to the nation, Johnson switched course, announcing the most sweeping set of social restrictions in the UK since the end of World War II. By that time, 335 people had died from COVID-19 in the UK. Given the weeks-long gap between initial infection and death, it's now clear that by the time Johnson spoke, coronavirus had to take a hold in Britain. And he can't claim that was coming. He can't claim that we weren't alerted, that we were unprepared. Critics are zeroing in on three key areas as they seek to find out what went wrong in the UK. First, there was the abandonment of mass testing. At the start of the outbreak in the UK, public health officials tracked and traced every known case. Ministers never offered a clear reason for why that policy was abandoned. Abandoning testing gave the virus the green light to spread uncontrollably, says the Royal Society of Medicine's Gabriel Scally. The second crucial question is whether the government failed to order a lockdown early enough. The third big question is the pursuit of so-called herd immunity. Many of the decisions the government made ignore basic public health, said a senior clinical lecturer at the University of Exeter. From abandoning track and trace to the timing of the lockdown to providing the correct protective equipment, ignoring basic public health science may have led to more deaths than necessary. The lecturer believes that despite government claims it has been guided by science at every step, the decision to delay lockdown was likely governed by economic consideration rather than public health science. So in that regard, we are in lockstep with America, with whom Boris Johnson said we were coordinating our response with Trump. One of the most controversial decisions during this crisis has been to keep private membership of the SAGE group, the government secret science group, a secrecy which has led to speculation from prominent members of the public health community about the quality and breadth of evidence that is reaching the top levels of government. Whenever they say we're guided by the science, they're talking about science advice that is given to them by people that we're not allowed to know the identity of. It concludes a public inquiry seems inevitable once the worst of the crisis is over. And when it comes, the government will stick to its line. The decision to prioritise the protection of the NHS was the right course of action, and that it succeeded. From what is true, the NHS didn't fall over during what looks like the worst weeks of the crisis. A cynic might claim that focusing on hospitals ignored what was happening in the wider community. In the short term, the government is under pressure to tell the public how lockdown will end. It will not simply be a matter of easier social distancing measures. Robert Dingwall, Professor of Social Science at Nottingham Trent University, says the biggest challenge for the government is the levels of fear and anxiety in the general population, which may make people reluctant to go along with the release from lockdown. That's the next we're going to have to get over. So there's a lot that went wrong, and I think that it might be possible that the government is saying we're only guided by the science as they'll use that as a deflector shield. Oh, it had nothing to do with me, they'll say, at the public inquiry. We were just following the science. It seems like insurance to me. But what do I know? 0345 6060 973, text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC.
The coronavirus pandemic on LBC, asking the questions you want answering. Celebrate the news that we're past the peak, but shouldn't we have a little more detail on exactly what the lockdown might look like this week? The facts you need. This isn't about hindsight. I've told you the facts on the ground were publicly available to all of us, and the Prime Minister chose to say, I'm still shaking everyone's hands, and I'm asking you whether some of the things that were said and done were not right. Sharing your stories.
You're right there, Coco.
So I'm going to get the best treatment. I just don't feel that's going to happen.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
This is a message from the government about the emergency measures to support the economy during a period of disruption caused by the coronavirus.
Leave it, Coco. Leave it.
Workers affected, you can apply for cash grants, business weight holidays, statutory sick pay relief
your voice is still there.
as well as the coronavirus job
I'm
retention
gonna go
and
make some light.
income support schemes. For
Need a light
information,
up that area.
UK/business-support. Now, there now follows an important announcement from HealthSpan. Not all supplements are created equal. Well, no, they're not. You see, we think it's important to take care of your health every day.
Coco.
Our multivitamins contain just the right levels of vitamin C and D to help support your immune system and are specially tailored for different life stages. And we deliver them direct to your door because that's the HealthSpan way. Well, there you go. That didn't take long, did it? We're HealthSpan. That's healthspan.co.uk. Vitamins and supplements direct to drum solo was so epic, he nearly forgot his mom's birthday back in Delhi. Good thing Raj has Western Union on his phone and can send money quickly online. Download the app today. This service is provided by Western Union. FX Games apply.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
Well, this is bizarre. I was talking about a guy called John D. Domenico because somebody mistakenly praised me for my inept impersonation of Donald Trump. And I put them on the right track to a guy called John D. Domenico, whose work I discovered about a week or so ago in a video about Donald Trump testing negative for the coronavirus. And then I started looking up the other videos that he does. And he is, without question, in a packed field, by the way, of the people impersonating the president, is head and shoulders above everybody else. And what he says is funny too. So I was prattling on about this, and bizarrely, he happens to be on the phone right now. John.
Nick, how are you?
Great. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely fantastic. As you mentioned, I tested extremely negative.
I just realised he didn't press that. I was like, what the hell? Oh, right.
They said it was the most negative test they've ever seen. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? That's Dr. Fauci, by the way. That's not me. I didn't say that.
Okay, so John,
yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing impressions since I was 5, and I've been doing Trump since 2004.
And has anybody else, any of your other impressions taken off like this?
You know, I've got a crossbow.
No, not like this.
You want a crossbow?
This has been a life-changing.
Okay. I'm not the greatest fan of crossbows, so yeah.
But it's true, isn't it, that this is a packed field. It seems like every other person on Earth is doing a Donald Trump impression.
Well, you know what's interesting is, when I started doing it in 2004, and I did my first national TV appearance in 2006, no one was doing it. The only 2 people who had really done it prior were on Saturday Night Live, Phil Hartman and Daryl Hammond. And it's really interesting now because every single late-night host here in the U.S. does him. Or every 5-year-old does him. It is really amazing how people love to impersonate him.
And they mostly do it quite badly. I mean, the chap that's on Saturday Night Live, what's his name?
Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin. His impression is it's not even close physically, and it's certainly not close vocally. Bill Maher is terrible at it.
He's horrible. You know what's interesting? I recently worked with Alec Baldwin about 3 months ago, and he even said his is terrible. It's, he said it out loud, and he was very complimentary of mine. So he's fully aware. But, he's become the benchmark for some reason. I don't really know why. As the Trump guy, which I find fascinating.
Probably because he was the most famous person to try it in the first place. He already had the fame.
Right. He's probably the biggest. And, on Saturday Night Live, they had let Daryl Hammond go, and he stepped in. And it was a brilliant kind of marketing thing for the show to have a well-known movie star step in and do it. But it's a very interesting take on Trump because it's very So the thing about Trump's voice is it's a very difficult voice. I do a lot of different voices, but it's a really, really layered voice with the nasal placement and the throat placement and the actual vocal production and the little bit of raspiness and a little bit of New York accent on maybe every 5th and 7th word, and then of course the way he slows down and he speeds up and he goes higher and lower. It's very, very difficult. Believe me. I have to say.
No, I do believe you. I've attempted it myself, and I'm not even close to being accurate. It's a very simple.
Okay, leave your house alone, please.
You think that you're listening to somebody who is very monotonous. That's not the case at all, is it?
No, in fact, when I develop a voice, I use like 8 different vocal, different he sounds, there's a Groucho-ness to the way he speaks. Because if you ever think of the famous Groucho, hello, I must be going. I came to say I cannot say I must be going. And that's very, very Trumpy. Hello, I must be going. I cannot stay. I came to say I must be going. I'm glad I came, but all the same, I must be going. There's a Trumpiness, and he was, Groucho was from New York, and then there's another actor that he's similar to, because when I build these voices, I like to have like sources. Are you familiar with the actor Christopher Walken here in the U.S.?
Yes.
Well, Christopher Walken has that thing where he talks, and he's from Queens, like Trump, but he's got that staccato thing, so yeah, wow. So if you take those components and you put them together, you can kind of start formulating the way Trump speaks with the staccato, sing-songiness, and certain words get over-enunciated. So it's all those things you kind of roll together.
And do you work from, well, I'll put it the other way. When I do voices, I'm very inept at it, to the point that I find it easier to impersonate someone who is impersonating the person that I'm going for. So I think in the future I'm going to be I'm trying to impersonate you, impersonating...
Well, there's a lot of people impersonating me. I sound down.
Oh, you're pretty much home.
Because you have taken...
Hey, did I hear you on the radio in Kentucky? And I'm like, I don't think so. They're like, well, it sounded just like you. So there are people who are just taking what I'm doing and just picking up on that.
Because you have taken
See if you can get up a little higher voice and probably
made it cartoon-like, you've exaggerated it, which is easier for somebody who's not very good at it, like me, to impersonate the exaggeration. Yeah, exactly.
You can, yeah. Yeah, because you're not at the right height.
That's the exact.
Yeah, you're just not at the right height. I should have been watching you earlier.
That's the exact. No.
I'm going to amp it up a little bit. Because people always say, you should slow down more, you should do this, but they're missing the point of what I'm doing. I'm doing comedy.
That's
that way. Yeah.
Just so
I
you
have to do a very authentic and specific Trump that I will, what I'm called on
I'm
to do
gonna
that.
do right in.
Audiobooks with him, and it's a different impression that.
Wait, don't move.
I'm going to take it to that next level.
You were at like 46 or something, weren't you? Right, dig back down, but do a 2x2 block exactly where you were.
You mean 2x2?
Right, one there, one there. What 1x2, I should say. 1x2, yeah. Just carry on doing that, yeah, that's it. Right, where's the tunnel you had? So there. Okay, right, go back in, and now do jumpy uppy only on one side.
Very easily, but I cannot figure out how to crack Biden's voice because he doesn't have any.
There we go. Now we both done the same thing. Look over to your left. That's where I came in from, and you've come in from. You've probably gone under the same fucking line as me.
I don't know that anyone is doing it, so there's no other person to listen to kind of figure out, like, oh, what are they doing? How are they getting into his voice? Like, look at the theme.
I'm sure the cartoonists have the same experience that some faces really lend themselves to being exaggerated. Some characteristics, some
features. Yeah, I've got a plus right here for you. I actually had two, and I repaired them like together, so it's actually a little. I didn't try that some inside.
I need to get. I haven't got any ready my thing.
Oh, you got a box here, remember?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, you changed it.
Yeah, I condensed it. The one at the back on the right hand side. This one. And then once you fill that one, if you put it in this one here, the rest, and any oddments for now, I've left that little box at the front. That's just for the odd bits and Oh, right then. Here is your bottle.
Kellyanne Conway was there.
You're welcome.
Something together.
Like I said, I had two,
And
so just put them
there's
together.
a weird story because I was one of the first people doing it, and I was living in New York at the time. I was the first person on Fox News in 2005.
Yeah, I couldn't tell them. Yeah, I put some lights around for your horsey, by the way.
For a cross promotion on The Apprentice, and one of the sponsors of the I got to fill in for him, and I was approved by him, and that was many, many years ago.
Now, he's not a man who is warm towards people who make fun of him, though. So it's odd. So does he actually like your impression of him?
We did, and even Kellyanne said, "You're the nice Trump." So that should be very, she knew who I was, and she knew how I did him, and I'm not one to tear people. That's not my style. I don't have a political agenda with him. I just think he's a fascinating guy, and I want to do him in a humorous way.
Oh, yeah,
I don't want to knock him.
Oh, yeah, you dirty boy.
No, really? Because from 6,000 miles away, it looks like you're being knocking would be pretty.
Well, she was focusing on his personality.
Fuck. Oh.
It's not anything.
Hey,
I'm not commenting on anything like that.
Right. Well, he does.
It's him. And also I've been doing it a very, very long time. So it's been far longer than it's only 3 years he's been president, 3.5 years.
Well, he does have a history of changing his opinion on people and lashing out wildly. You might want to.
Oh, shit. Sometimes within 24 hours. Sometimes in 6 seconds.
Well, it's great talking to you, John. I really love your work.
Thank you, Nick. Well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
That's John D. Domenico, who is, without doubt, the best Trump impersonator you'll ever see. He's got videos up on the World Wide Ways, and they're very much worth.
I like the way he said World
John
Wide Web.
D. Domenico, that's D-D-I, and then Domenico. Absolutely brilliant. It's some of the funniest stuff I've seen all year. And we are in want of a laugh, aren't we? 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850, email nicka@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC.
Oh, yeah, have a book. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Just trying it.
Yeah.
Can't figure out if I'm supposed to do it.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
Ooh. Enchanted a bow, and I've got Infinity. What's this Infinity 1 and Power 3. So all I need to do. Oh, yeah. Hang on. I've got 4 hours. That's enough. I've got an enchanting book which has got feather falling. Oh, I could put that on. If I go to an anvil, put those on my boots.
He said he was going through litres and litres of oxygen when they moved him into intensive care unit. The situation was so serious that the doctors planned how to make an announcement if the worst should happen. To use his words, they were making plans for a death of Stalin type scenario.
Well, the Prime Minister and his fiancée, Carrie Simmons, have given their newborn son the middle name of Nicholas after 2 of the doctors who helped save Mr. Johnson's life. A further 621 people have died with coronavirus in the UK. The latest figure includes those who have passed away in hospitals, care homes and the wider community. It takes the total death toll to more than 28,000. The Department of Health has admitted a small number of the coronavirus home tests have been sent out without return labels, meaning they can't be processed. Some people say that
Well, surely all they have to do is send them some return labels.
Extra funding to
Instead of sending whole new tests and fill them, you send them to return labels.
by the government.
You'd
The Housing
think so.
Secretary Robert Jenrick outlined new measures at today's Downing Street briefing. He said £76 million will go towards survivors of domestic and sexual abuse, vulnerable children and victims of modern slavery.
For victims of domestic abuse watching at home this afternoon, let me say once again that you are not alone.
Yeah.
You do not have to stay at home. You can and should leave the home if you're in danger.
Robert Jenrick also unveiled plans to reduce homelessness after the pandemic. Dame Louise Casey will lead a new government task force looking at ways of making sure as few people as possible return to the streets. 90% of
Unbreaking.
councils have been offered accommodation during the lockdown. From Monday, masks will be compulsory on public transport in Spain. It says the country moves to gradually relax its tough lockdown. The country's Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, says that the government would distribute 6 million masks, mainly at transport locations, and give another 7 million to local authorities. Meanwhile, here, Eurostar passengers will also be required to cover their faces from Monday or risk being refused to travel. The rail company said the rule for travellers to wear face coverings is in line with guidelines from the French and Belgian governments. BBC weather will showers dying out to leave a chilly night with clear spells in many central areas, cloudier in the northeast and southwest with some patchy rain, a low of 2 degrees.
You're just like,
I'm Zora Swan.
I'm just going to click to end the stream, and then, yeah.